My name's Jamal. I was born in Bangladesh. I came to the UK when I was 3 years old. Right. Um, my positive change in life started when turned 28. Yeah. I grew up on the Aylesbury estate, which is one of the UK at the time was one of the UK's worst estates, where crime was a fashion, and education was a choice. If you know what that means, yeah. At an early age, I was exposed to a lot of gang culture. You know what I mean, like sex, money, drugs, crime. It was all what it was. Fights. Along with that came the the gang culture. A life of crime. And from that, I was doing a lot of stuff, washing my back, running around, in and out of trouble with the police. But then it got to a stage where I turned 15, and my dad had enough. And he was like, you know what? You're an embarrassment to me. You're an embarrassment to the family. Get out. And that was it. My life changed. I was 15 years old, living on the streets. Yeah. Living on the streets of London. So I turned to the streets even more for comfort, right? Um, then obviously, how did I live my life? I had to commit a load of offences over and over again in order for me to maintain myself, financially. Doing that for a very long time, in and out of the police station, getting arrested, making money, and you know what? I really didn't care who I hurt. I really didn't care about what I did, as long as I was able to support myself. At the age of 19, this was when it was a game changer for me, boy, a real game changer. I was arrested. I was in jail for a year and a half. After my release, I made a promise. I made a real promise, and that promise was, you know what, I don't want to go back down that road, and I don't want to go to prison. You know. Um, so what did I do? I started working as a volunteer, and at that time in Elephant and Castle, I think there was an organisation called the Millennium Volunteers. So I volunteered, doing some music programs, doing some mentoring and stuff as well. Um, and then I realized that I really had a passion for music. And through that, I kind of started my own label, Darkness Records. Yeah, if you remember that from, I don't know, 30 years ago. And then also we had another label, production unit, recording studio called Unit 10. So, yeah, man, that was a very, very young age that I started my music career. Um, and then from there, I said, you know what, this is gonna be what I'm gonna be. This is what I'm gonna do. Music. And I'm gonna leave the streets behind. But however, things didn't always pan out like that, because even though we had to the music business and everything else, you know, the music business is not how it all seems to be. You still need finances, you still need to fund it, you still need to pay for certain things. And how do you think we paid for that? I'll leave that up to you lot to kind of work out how we financed and how we done what we did. Okay. Doing all of this for a few years, at the age of 23, I got to a stage where my dad passed away, and at the same time, I split up with with my partner, and my son moving out, and obviously not being able to see him, and then loads of um, knockbacks that happened in that same year. And sadly to say, I fell into a deep, deep, dark hole. And I don't know if any of you guys have fallen into a dark hole and never got out of it. You know how serious it is. The dark hole was depression, um, and I was finding it very hard for me to get out of this dark hole. You know, um, and obviously I used to smoke a lot of cannabis at that particular time. But again, the cannabis wasn't. helping my depression in any way. So I started, you know, um, becoming a victim of the dedicated or the deadly drugs of class A, and then eventually I became an addict. Can you imagine that, me at the age of 24 becoming an addict? I wasn't. I wouldn't call myself a fiend or a nitty or anything of the kind because I wasn't on the streets begging for money or committing theft or whichever robberies, breaking into people's houses, robbing my mum or anything else like that in order to kind of support my habit. And obviously, I was still doing bits on the roads, so I was more and less supporting my habit, you know, and the kind of drug user that I was, no one could actually tell what I was actually doing. You know, only me, uh, only I could tell what was happening with drugs. Um, However, it got to a stage where it resulted in me losing everything. You know, um, I ended up losing the love and respect from family members. I ended up losing a lot of money, my business, car, house. This is what drugs can do to you. Everything that you worked for and everything that you've done positively just goes out the window. You know. Um, then from there, what happened was I was referred to my by my doctor to an organization called Motivate. No, it was CPD, the Community Drugs Project. And that, I think that was in Camberwell. And my doctor said, you know what, Jamal, I think you just need to go and just check it out. So I went, checked it out, and then from that, um, they referred me to. They said to me, "Oh, do you know what? You want to go into a program called Motivate?" I was like, "Nah, I'm not really about that at all." In order for me to keep my habit, I had to make that conscious decision, and I had to say, you know what, I need to stop, and I did, and I went to the program. It was a rehabilitation program, um, and then this guy walks into this room. He was a road guy. It was cool. His name was Lee. He was my key worker. He walks in head to toe. He's got Stone Island on. He's got his trainers. I was like, "Raw, you a support worker or you a shotter?" He's like, "Nah. I'm a road. I'm a ex road guy, ex user. Now I'm doing." I was like, "Oh, it's kind of cool." So with him now, I was able to kind of trust him a little bit more, and through that, he was able to kind of get me onto the program. And it was a personal social development program. And through that, I learned motivation, confidence, self esteem. I learned how to kind of communicate with people, how to integrate with others. I learned a lot about myself and, kept myself busy. And then through that, I was able to kind of look at ways to develop myself. And then we went on a program on a journey. It was to Costa Rica, Nicaragua. Yeah, I spent 10 weeks there. Backpacking. I thought, what the hell am I doing in this country? Why am I here? Right. With a bunch of gap year students. However, it was an eye opener for me to see how people were living in different countries and how I was helping and supporting them and how um, hard they have it and how easy we have it and how we take it for granted. So I helped the people in Costa Rica. I helped them to, build septic tanks coming from the mountain all the way down into the village. Build community centers. Done a hike. So it was crazy, man. I'm telling you, it was an eye-opening life experience. At the time, again, my mind was taken off of drugs and I was constantly on the rehabilitation process. I was rehabilitating myself. Um, it took a long time, but again, it was my mind power that had to do it. And through that, I became clean of all drugs. Um, And then on my return back, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? I'm drug free, you know. And I was like, well, what do I do? So I decided to, leave the roads behind 100%. So I was like, okay, what do I do? I went and knocked on the door of a youth program, a youth charity. I knocked on the door and I was like, yo, I'm willing to work for you for free. You know, I'll work for free. Please just give me an opportunity to come in and work and do something. And it was like, okay, we'll give you this chance. So I didn't blow this chance. This was the one chance I had, and this was the one chance I was able to prove myself. I was there before everybody in the morning, and I left. And at the end of the day, I didn't get paid a single penny. I was there for 6 months, right, working for free. Um, and I was because I was always an entrepreneur. I was a businessman from the roads on the streets. I was always doing something positive and constructive. So I was like, how can I use my street credibility and everything else to do the task. So the task was I had to organize a stakeholders event, that showed where we are and what we're doing as a youth charity. So what did I do? I went and invited, you know, a mayor from every single borough of London to come to host to the event that we was hosting. Out of all the mayors, I think 7 of them turned up. Hackney, Tower Hamlets, Hammersmith and Fulham. As I remember, there was a few more. Southwark turned up. So there was all these mayors that turned up to this charity event, and they was all saying, "Wow, fantastic!" And what happened? I was offered the job after that. And this was my first paid, legitimate job that I was proud of. I was like, yeah, youth work. And it was like, okay, well, we can't pay you a lot, but we can pay you as a trainee. I was like, a trainee? What's a trainee? It's like, oh, you're gonna learn. So I was like, okay, cool. So what does that look like in finances? It's like, I think I think at the time it was about 15, maybe £16,000 for the year. I was like, what the hell am I gonna do with that? I've got a child to support. And it was like, oh, it's what the best we can do. So I was like, you know what? I was grateful for the opportunity, and I took it. I took it. And I developed, I grew, I done my qualifications while I was at work. And from there, I grew, I developed, I changed, I didn't look back. I never looked back at, for the streets and stuff. And I became what I am today, you know. So, I've set up my own youth provision, as you can see, OMG. Um, and now we've kind of got to a stage now where we're looking at, um, how I can help and support more and more young people, and what kind of provision is it? Yeah. This provision is more set up with the youth work organizations I used to work for and the youth work organizations I used to attend. So what I've done is I've merged both of them together to call it OMG, because we're doing something completely different. And when we're doing something completely different now, we're looking at opportunities for more and more young people. So now, like I said, a guy that's coming to this country at the age of 3, lived a life on the streets, you know, in and out of trouble with the police, in jail, you know, drugs, abuse, you name it, I've been there. To now being a director, CEO, founder of a youth provision, I think you don't get more positive than that, you know. Um, Growing up, I was growing up in, like I said, Aylesbury Estate, South London, Peckham, Woolworth Road, Bermondsey, so Elephant and Castle. This was like kind of the areas that I've grown up in. Now, there's no signal on the TV. So with growing up now in this area, I grew up with a lot of racism. You know, being a South Asian, Bengali, you know, growing up in Bermondsey, Millwall, Bermondsey, very white English area. So I grew up with nothing but hatred, being hated on, um, being bullied, and stuff as well. And my parents coming from a non-English speaking background, it was very difficult for them to guard and protect me from racism, from bullying, and all of that kind of stuff that was happening. So I had to defend myself, defending myself in school, defending myself on the roads, on the streets, and stuff as well. So that's where it all stemmed from. And you need protection, and you need people to look out for you. And I think my dad couldn't do that because he had me at an old age. So having me at an older age, I was a teenager, and he was kind of at a stage where he was in his 50s, so which made it very difficult for him to kind of be supportive of what I do, you know. Um, yeah, so that's what made me go down that road.
So next question we have is how did you start OMG and what steps did you have to take to overcome barriers such as council, government?
Okay. How did I start OMG? I started OMG one day. I was at work, and I was like, I don't want to work here no more. And I was at another youth organization, and things happened for a reason. So I left that organization. I used to work for a youth organization in Croydon. I was the operations manager there, and I learned about contracts and values and working with all these kind of stuff. So what I done was I left that organization with the knowledge, and then at the time I think about two Rolex watches, and I pawned them. Yeah, I pawned my watches. So I pawned my watches. I think I got about 25 grand for them, and then I used that money to set myself up. So I got an office. I got a training room. I remember my two new at that time staff that was paying for, and I had no contracts. And I was thinking, what the hell? How am I? What am I doing? Am I crazy? But you know what? I had my first group of young people through the door, 12 of them, and we were running a program. And then I reached out to one of my old contacts, and I said, "Look, man, I've started up a youth program." And he was like, "Yeah, really? Okay, what have you got?" So he told me, and then he's like, "Listen, I'll give you a little contract." I was like, "Okay," and that was it. That was it. He gave me my first contract. And from there, I've just been growing and developing and striving. The youth program's been growing, funding's been coming in, and we've been working on supporting. I think up to date now, we've worked with over like 1,500 young people, you know, across the whole of London, you know. Um, and the barriers, yes, the council, yes, the barriers of the government funding, yes, there are barriers with loads of red tape and stuff as well. However, the problem that I have is you got to remember I'm an ex roadman, yeah. So a lot of barriers is stereotyping, yeah. I get stereotyped as soon as I walk into a room of officials. Look, I walk in like this. I got my hat on. I got teeth and stuff as well. So as soon as I walk into a meeting, they're like, "Are you sure we want to give you £100,000 for the youth project? What makes you think that you're not going to run away with £100,000?" So I'm constantly fighting this battle. I'm a changed man. Yeah, what I've done in the past is in the past. You know. However, now because of my reputation over the past 5 years with OMG, I have more of a grounds to stand on to advocate for young people. I advocate for OMG, and now the government grants are minimal. The council grants are minimal. However, we as an independent organization, we raise the funds. We get that money in, whether it's through donations, whether it's through subcontracting, whether that's associate delivery, whatever. We get that money in so then we can do more and more for our young people. And there's always going to be barriers. There's always going to be barriers, but staying focused is the main thing. You have it. You have two kinds of friends. Yeah. So you've got the friends that are supportive, and you've got the friends that are non-supportive, but they're still your friends at the end of the day. You know. So you've got to be kind of at that stage where is who do I listen to? Yeah, and who do I um follow? Right. So I'll give you an example of two friends. Yeah, I got one friend when he found out I was using drugs. You know, he literally kidnapped me.
Wow.
Literally kidnapped me in his house. Yeah, and didn't him and his wife didn't let me out the house of their house for literally I think a day and a half, maybe 2 days. Yeah, they was like, "Nah, you just need to just shake it off." Yeah, but he would never give me no. He wouldn't give me any money. Why? To me, I thought you're a bad friend for not giving me no money. Yeah, but what he done was more than any other friend. Yeah, because what he done was he's looking out for my best interest. Yeah, as a human. Yeah, and he was like, "All right, cool. Up to date, me and him are best friends." Yeah. Then I've got friends. So while I've changed, for example, when I come back from Costa Rica, you know, I've come back from Nicaragua. I had phone calls. Oh, yo, what's happening? Um, what is there food about? Is there this about? Is there this? Is there whatever, whatever? If people know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Um, and they were angry because the supply chain on the streets has stopped. And I've kind of stopped a lot of the supply chain that was coming in. You know, so they were angry because now they can't make any more money. You know, so there was that anger from my friends. Then I had a lot of friends that were in the music business. Like, yo, come, let's go make music, let's go in the studio, let's go and record, let's do this, let's do that, and let's sign a new artist, what we signing, who we signing, what we doing, who we gonna manage, and this and that. So now I've got these kind of friends, yeah. But at the end of the day, I know who my friends are, and I know what value each friend has. And that's what you guys need to kind of understand is what value does that friend have to you? Yeah. So I have friends that I got emotional value to. I've got friends that I've got financial value. Yeah. And I've got friends that are just everyday friends. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, we might see each other once every 6 months, but we can have a conversation because we've known each other for 10, 15 years. Doesn't mean that I need to be phoning them every 2 minutes, you know. But I've got emotional friends that we can talk and connect on a level, and I will see them every week or whichever. We will speak every other day, you know. And I've got friends that I don't do any of them two with, but we've got a good respect for one another through business. Yeah, I can pick up the phone and say, "Yo, I need 100 grand, bro." He's like, "Well, what do you need 100 grand for?" I'll tell him, "All right, cool, no problem. I'll wire that to you now, or I'll send it to you, whichever." So you have different values in different friends, and yes, it was very, very difficult for me to change that lifestyle and pull myself away from the negativity of certain friends because them friends were still part of the circle that I have another friend to circle in. So you have a network of friends. 10 of them are still on the roads. 10 of them are working their life or whatever. Another 10 of them are probably family orientated or whichever. However, all 30 men are still friends. Yeah. And it weren't until we got to a certain age we started respecting each other's boundaries. Yeah. When you're 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, there is no boundaries. Everyone wants to sit in the house together, smoke weed, get high, listen to music, girls, whatever, alcohol, party. It's the life, yeah. But when we get to this stage of 30, 31, 32, 33, now we start thinking about family. Now we start thinking about um, our close circle. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be successful? And you know, They say this: be with successful people, and you will be successful. Be with bums, and you will be a bum. Yeah. So now you got to choose your friends wisely. And I can tell you right now, I can count all my friends my, on my hand. Yeah. But however, when I was 18 years old, I didn't know how many friends I had. I knew that there was 30, 40 man strong. Yeah. 30, 40 man strong. So is that all your friends? Are they all my friends? Some of them are, some of them not. Some of them are haters, some of them are not haters.
And so say hi.
Yeah.
Say hi to everyone.
Uh,
Let's sit down.
I'm gonna sit back down again.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Cool.
Right. So, what can we expect from positive changes? So what we're saying is, I'm the first person to kind of share my story of positive change. Over the next few episodes of positive change, we're going to be inviting a lot of my friends, should I say, that have positively made changes in their life, you know, and how they have changed their life. And hopefully, this podcast here is to inspire the younger generation of how people have or what they have done in their previous life in order for them to make a positive change and to be where they are today. So the likelihood is, because I'm well connected within the music industry, I'll be pulling out a lot of resources from there, see who I can get here. I know a lot of business personals. So people that are running businesses, that are successful businessmen. So we'll be inviting them as well, to talk about their changes and their journeys in life. We'll be inviting some of our ex students as well. You know, some of our ex students that have been through the OMG program and how they have positively changed their life around and what they are doing now to what they were doing before. Um, so that's what you can expect from the OMG podcast, people.